Well, all along, we saw the Stanley Park project as also providing educational opportunities and as well as testing opportunities. And we wanted to do some cob testing as we were building. And we were fortunate enough to get UBC, the university, interested, as well as the Technical Institute interested, as well as engineers in the city. And we were able to get an intern or a student intern to do some cob testing, some materials testing as well. So, as well, the university was very interested in doing some seismic testing, and they made available their labs, the seismic shake table, and everything for us at no cost. So Steve Lay, who was my partner in the project, he coordinated the seismic testing, so he built a scale model, and we were able to test it at UBC. So, I mean, that was really exciting. But as I said, a key part of building the Stanley Park project was the testing and the educational and the data, the research. Okay, well, I mean, first off, this garden and this cob building are very much loved in the community. A lot of people know about it. A lot of people come to the garden just to hang out in the garden, or they come to visit the cob house. And just recently a developer bought the property, and we tried to buy it ourselves, but really weren't given the full opportunity to buy it. And consequently, a developer has bought it and has plans to redevelop the whole site. He wants to take down all the trees, take down the cob house, and put up a couple of high-end duplexes. Now, the interesting part of the story is that the Parks Board are very interested in buying this property because they recognize the value of this garden in terms of a community amenity. But we also live in a park-deficient neighborhood, a very park-deficient neighborhood. So the Parks Board are interested in acquiring new property. And they have told us that they would like to keep the cob house as part of the garden. Unfortunately, the developer, well, it's a bit of a long story. I mean, we went to the Board of Variance and we stopped the development for the time being, but the developer is digging in, and now he's hired lawyers, he's suing the city, and so we don't know what's going to happen. We do know that the Parks Board is still very interested in buying the property. It's hard to say what's going to happen. We've organized hundreds of people in the community. We've gathered 1,600 petition signatures to save the garden and the cob house. 28 organizations have supported us protecting the garden. We put forth a vision to create an educational center here. And as part of that educational center, which would include gardening and composting and all of that, would also include natural building, because we already have a cob building here as a demonstration structure. But there are lots of opportunities to do more natural building in the city. And the city's very interested in that vision. At this point, the developer is digging in, and you can see the cob house is being boarded up. The developer boarded it up because he's concerned that it's a liability, that somehow it's an attractive nuisance, which is ironic. Attractive nuisance is a legal doctrine that applies to children, where children are attracted to something possibly dangerous, like an abandoned car where they might hurt themselves. But the cob house, because it attracts so many visitors, is considered a nuisance from the landlord's perspective. I mean, people come and visit this cob house and they fall in love with it. It's a peace and loving place. I mean, nobody gets hurt here. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. We're hoping that the developer will not tear the cob house down. He said he may, but that he'll wait until the outcome is being decided. Either he proceeds with the full development and we have no recourse, or not, and the Parks Board does buy it. In that case, we're hoping that the cob house can stay and become part of a new creative space. Yeah, it is totally ironic that I'm all about housing, affordable housing, accessible housing, and I've been evicted from my own home. But that's the nature of living in the city. I mean, the city it's brutal, and developers are bulldozing every little bit of it to rebuild skyscrapers and expensive housing, and the neighborhood I live in, which is a very interesting neighborhood, East Vancouver, which used to be a very affordable, more of a lower income neighborhood, is quickly turning into a very expensive place to live. I hope to stay in the neighborhood and find something else nearby, and I hope to continue cob building. And one of the ideas that I have is to maybe build my own cob house in someone's backyard and present it or showcase it as an example of affordable infill housing. The city is very interested in, as we said, sustainability, and densification is part of that strategy, and infill housing in particular, that meaning building smaller, like granny suites, smaller apartments in backyards, filling in some of the open areas in backyards, for example. So I could see a place for cob as an infill building. Could be community built, could be owner built, perhaps more affordably than regular house. I think the city would be open to that. So I'm thinking maybe I'll ask I have a few friends that do own property in the neighborhood, and I'll see whether or not they're interested in maybe getting involved in this kind of project. And it would be a larger building, and it would have to be permitted, but I think we have the support of the city now. I think that we could get a permit to do such a structure, which would be amazing. One of the key lessons learned in living here is the importance of physical space and creating community. Having a semi-wild space in an urban environment is so precious. It's so sacred. So many people come here just to be in this space because it's a little wilder. It's not a manicured park. And having the space to build a cob house is also, there's not a lot of space in the city. And this space has brought a lot of people together. And it's really this sort of outdoor wild space that has brought everyone together. And we've created amazing community here. And the community that we've created here, you just can't replicate very easily. And if we lose this to development, I think it's going to be really sad. Not just for myself personally, but for the whole community, for the whole city. Yes, we need density, we need apartment buildings, we need housing, of course. But we really need to save these sacred spaces, because they're so important, especially in the city where we don't have the access to big trees or to wild spaces. And it's so vital for our mental health and our physical health. And the cob structure here has been magical. It really is. Kids love it. It's just been so important in the neighborhood to have this space. Not just for educational reasons, but just for the soul, for our spirit. To be in a space that really sings to you, that really expresses these qualities that are grounded in nature, and I think really speak to our deeper subconscious craving and desire to connect with nature. And the cob house allows us to connect to nature. The garden allows us to connect to nature. And in the city, there aren't many opportunities to do that. I think that's the saddest thing about losing this. On the positive side, it's been here for 6-7 years, and it's really turned a lot of people onto cob. So it's made a lot of people happy.